All right, go on then. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. My name is Ephraim. For those of you who do not know, I worked with Kristian in April, May of 2023. I reached out to Kristian when my dating life was atrocious, when I was going months at a time without finding a girl and swiping through all the apps. I was getting drunk and going to bars and nightclubs and doing my best to hit on girls out with my friends. And yeah, nothing was working, nothing was sticking. The few phone numbers I can get at bars and nightclubs, they didn't go anywhere, and it wasn't consistent anyways. I didn't like having to get drunk to be able to meet women, and so yeah, I reached out to Kristian, and I spent a month with him in Warsaw, Poland. Did an immersion with him. We spent first week and a half to 2 weeks going over the technicals of a cold approach and how to actually stop the girl effectively, stay in conversation, get her phone number, set up a date, all that stuff. Honestly, more like a week. That didn't take very long to sort out. The rest of it was just how to not just get over my fear when it comes to girls, but get over my fear when it comes to expressing myself in public, going after what I want to the fullest extent. We brainstormed personal brand ideas and why it's so important to have a personal brand, and it couldn't hurt to have one versus to not have one, and that spawned the idea of my own channel. So since working with Kristian, I've gone on so many dates I genuinely couldn't count, and I've documented all of those dates on my own personal channel that I run, where I try to teach guys the same stuff, but I hit it at a different angle, and it has my own spin, my own personality to it. And but in other words, yeah, I'm doing great. Life is going great. We're getting over the winter time, which is my least favorite time of the year. It's just freezing all the time. So getting closer to the summer, days are getting longer. More girls are out, and so more opportunities to approach. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, we won't disclose the exact location, but you've booked your flights over to join us in March as well for our first Renaissance retreat of the year. If anybody's just heard that and thinking the fuck's a Renaissance retreat, yeah, all the guys in our community, as well as getting in-person coaching with me, one-to-one, none of the group coaching bollocks. This year, we're really taking things to a different level. So we're hosting secret worldwide meetups in different cities across the world. All of our guys have got open invitations to come and join. I never wanted it to be a thing where I just work with guys in person. Maybe they get results, maybe they don't, and then my commitment ends once the in person ends. I was like, no, because especially with a skill like this, it takes consistent applied focus over a sustained period. I think that's why a lot of guys they start off well, they start off with good intentions, but it's easy to have a few weeks where life gets in the way, or you might have a few undesirable outcomes. Very easy to lose momentum, slide back to square one. So yeah, I thought it would be a good idea to have more of these in-person meetups where guys can actually meet up in person. Obviously, we have our weekly group coaching calls, but I don't think there's any replacement for in-person. You know, like actually meeting up with people in person, approaching together, going to the gym together, going out for dinner together. So yeah, as soon as you post it into the group and being like, hey, flights booked, it's like, wow, this guy's traveling halfway across the world for like 6 days. So yeah, how are you feeling about meeting up with all the guys?
It feels correct. It feels like something I've been waiting to do for 3 years now, or 2 years, ever since we met and I got introduced to the Entourage. I'm very excited about it because, yeah, like you mentioned, it's not just, a lot of guys see this skill set and they think this is just a way to get the girl. And at its core, maybe that's the case. Yeah, that's what brought us all together. But in reality, you realize when you go through your immersion with Kristian, when you eventually go through yours, that that is 1 to 2 to 3% of this skill set. Yeah, the rest of it is genuinely just personal development. It's turning yourself into the kind of person that can go after what he wants, regardless of what the rest of the world thinks. And to have found a decent number of guys in the same position that also have the same mentality, and maybe we didn't start off with this mentality, but we were willing to build it through effort, through courage. It's just an amazing place to be in, and I have conversations with a lot of these guys daily. sometimes not just in the group, but sometimes we'll also have like side conversations about different topics. And they're teaching me a lot about life in general, about their experience being a man growing up, going through different phases, what they've wanted in relationships at different ages. Just a lot of guidance, a lot of guidance that I would have been missing if I had never joined the Entourage. And so to finally get to meet these guys in person in our secret location, I'm just so excited. I've met Kristian twice in person, and those have been some of the most fun times of my life, where we spent a month in Warsaw and a month in Cyprus. So now to have a bunch more like-minded guys added to the mix, where we get to talk about all these different topics and, like you mentioned, do all these different activities. Yeah, I imagine maybe 20 to probably less than that, maybe 10% of the time will actually be spent filming content and walking over to girls. The rest is going to be spent with each other, just talking about different topics in life and the trajectory we want to take the Entourage and different business ideas that all the other guys have. And I get to meet people in so many different industries, so many different income brackets, and they're going to have so much to share about all of these different areas of life that I'm still pretty new to. So when it comes to walking over to the girl, I'm pretty good at that, but there's a lot to life that I still get to uncover. And so just being in a group with these guys, I'm learning that. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like meeting them in person. So I'm very, very, very excited for that.
Yeah, I'm currently writing up our Entourage creed, which outlines different principles that we can all live by. I think it's good to have that in writing. I'll share it with people, and then people can make amendments if they think there's like other things that we can include. But one of the principles I always talk about was this notion of anti-game artistry, which was a phrase that I decided to coin the other day because I was doing a lot of reflecting on all of the guys that I coached, all the guys who are in the Entourage, and I realized more and more this is a process of unlearning. Like I see myself more as just like a guide or a messenger to help people unlock a version of them that's already there, but it's just buried beneath a lot of layers of social conditioning. And I think it's difficult for guys that when you get into this space, first of all, you don't know anybody when you first get started. So that's why the internet's a great tool, right? You can get mentors online. But then what I found for myself was there's this almost like a divide. On one side of the fence, you had the old school pickup guys, and for them it was all about lines, routines, obsessing over techniques. I'm not saying that doesn't have its place, but I never resonated with that. And then on the other side, you've got the rise of the whole manosphere, looks, money, status, approaching women's low value, ignore women until you're 35, and then the right ones magically going to turn up at your door. So I always found the space itself to be confusing. Yeah, I just wanted to find a way to have control of my life. And for me, game was just learning how to get what I wanted. I didn't want to become a pickup artist, a day gamer, a cold approacher. I just wanted to have more control. And the more that I teach and the more that I learn, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just actually unlearning. And the more we can strip away, I think the more powerful we become. So yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts or your takes on all of these things, and hopefully we can help to illuminate the path for guys who are feeling lost at the moment.
Yeah, so when I first reached out to Kristian, I was drowning in red pill content. And I always have to pay my respects to that content because that's what first got me into the space. I did learn a lot from the content, but the law of diminishing return, you go over the hump and you start to realize that the content becomes kind of like a coping mechanism to avoid action. And so I noticed that a lot of the creators were spewing out stuff that has its place, that can help you, that will improve your life from one extent to another. But it didn't solve the root problem of why I was watching the content in the first place, which was I wanted to get girls. I wanted to meet women that liked me just as much as I liked them, and I didn't want to pay for them. I didn't want to pay for fake desire. Once again, I didn't want to go out to bars and clubs and get drunk to do it, which, to be fair, they weren't preaching anyways. They were just telling me that if I were to maximize all of the extremities, all of the accessory parts of my life and my personality and my appearance, then magically the women that I was after all along, the whole reason I got into this space, like you just said, would magically fall upon my doorstep and start knocking it and breaking it down to get to me. And then I also came across that whole MGTOW movement. Yeah. So it's like another branch of the red pill. Men go their own way. Yeah. So what they were preaching was, if you just maximize your income, if you looks max, right, you do all of this stuff, and you ignore the women, yeah, and you simply just focus on yourself and improving yourself. So once again, I pay my respects to that movement, because it is a helpful movement. Yeah, it's better than guys that just say, oh, you know what, you're this tall, you're this weight, you're this skin color, you're this ethnicity, you're this social class, so just give up entirely. Yeah, just don't even go after what you want. Just admit that your genes are not going to be passed on, all of these things that they would say. So I really appreciate these movements, because at least they're sending guys in somewhat of the correct direction. Yeah. It's like your life isn't going to get worse from trying to improve your income, increase your income, improve your appearance. Yeah. Get in the gym and look good and feel good. Your life isn't going to get worse from that. But the issue that I always had with it, the reason I could never resonate with it fully, is because it wasn't actually solving the problem that I was there to solve. Yeah, like the equation that they were giving did not solve for the issue that I was having, which was, I, for the life of me, cannot find a girlfriend. Yeah, no matter what I do, I either settle for a girl that I know that I can do 10 times better than, yeah, or finally do find a girl that somewhat likes me, but then I scare her away with all of these red pill tactics where I wait 14 hours to reply to her, or I'm Mr. MGTOW, I don't reply to her at all, and then I hit her up 3 months from then and wonder why she's not texting me back. Like, all of these little red pill tactics that I used to employ. And so I could never fully buy into it. And then I come across somebody like Kristian. The first video I saw from Kristian, the very first thing that he did after he spoke to the camera for about 2 minutes in public in a busy London street, is he walked right over to a beautiful girl, planted himself right in front of her, and then just started speaking to her. Yeah, gave her a compliment and then started speaking to her. And it looked like magic to me at the time, because firstly, I couldn't see myself doing that. I had never done something that bold in my life. But secondly, I couldn't believe it, because I looked at the guy, and Kristian looks great, but I did not think that he was Mr. Looks Maxed. Oh my God, he's what, 240 pounds, benching 415 like these guys say you need to be. Yeah, he looked good, but he didn't look like Mr. 6'7" NBA player like these guys said you need to be in order to get results in this manner. And so I was just looking at a guy that I could, he and I look opposite, but I see myself in him. Yeah, and I go, wow, like, he doesn't look that different from me and the other guys that I see when I walk around the streets. Yet he can walk over to these gorgeous women on the sidewalk like this, in the grocery store, in the supermarket. He can just walk over, plant himself right there, and then start a relationship out of thin air. And the ones that didn't go his way, oftentimes the women thanked him for coming up to him, and then just simply walked away. And he looked at the camera and he said, all right, I'm okay with that. And then we keep it going. And so I just saw something so different that I had never seen before. Obviously now I know that we term this cold approach. But at the time I had seen cold approach before, and I couldn't even put that into the same bucket, because when I come across these other guys, like he mentioned, there was a lot of scripts and routines and lines and tactics where they would strategically place in these negs and these, I have to insult the girl here so I can make my value seem higher. Which is a concept I don't even like at all. But what I saw was anti-game. Yeah, it was something so unique, to anything that I'd ever seen before on the internet. And so that's why I knew I had to reach out to Kristian, because I wanted to learn that. Yeah, I wanted to learn how to pick up my nuts, walk over to the girl in broad daylight, plant myself right in front of her, and then be okay with the outcome. Yeah, not be so attached to whether or not she actually liked me. Like that was one of the main keys, was the fact that he was detached from outcome. Yeah, it's not just that sometimes the girl would like him and give him his number. Like that part was great. That's a bonus. But seeing that when in the face of rejection, even when they were brutal, yeah, even when he walked up to a group of three friends, and they all gave him a brutal rejection with the witty UK humor that they have, and they really, really, really let him down and let him have it. He still walked right over to the camera and went, "Yep, sometimes it goes like that." And then he just went over to the next girl. And there was just something so electric about that. I knew I had to get around it. I knew that if I could learn that skill set, my entire life, dating wise, would explode. And that's exactly what has happened. Yeah, since learning that exact skill set from Kristian in Poland, I mean, I've got a catalog of videos. This, for me, they're memories, but for viewers, they're video evidence of what can happen if you work with Kristian. For me, it was a month, so unfortunately, you don't get access to him for that long. But to be fair, you don't need a month. Yeah, the extra 3 weeks were with Kristian were just spent mapping out the rest of my life. Yeah, and really fine tuning different areas, but truly the first week is where the majority of the learning happened, the growth and the development. So yeah, I think I can't remember what your initial, I think it was just my take on that. Yeah, my take is that they all have their place. Yeah, they all can benefit you, but I understand why majority of the world, the majority of guys are going to subscribe to the red pill or to the MGTOW, or even to the PUA type teachers that want to feed you lines. It's because of what you said initially. It's because we want that feeling of control as men. We want to feel as though we have control over our dating life, and we want like a repeatable, patterned script that we can use, so that we can feel certain that when we walk over, we're going to get the result that we want. And what I love about this new term you coined, the anti-game, is that it allows us to have control, but the means to which we can get control is basically through relinquishing control. It's basically through walking over, knowing that there's a myriad of possibilities as far as how this conversation can go, and being okay with all of them. And in being okay with all of them, you gain a whole lot of control over yourself, over your emotions, over your confidence, and over your dating life. More specifically, you gain a whole lot of control. And so right now, I've got more control over my dating life than I ever have in my entire life. And it's honestly an afterthought. My dating life these days is an afterthought, which is insane, because it used to be first and forefront on my mind 24/7. When's the next time I'm going to get laid? When's the next time I'm going to find a girlfriend? When's the next time? Nowadays, I find these women as I'm doing other things that are more prominent on my mind, like making extra cash after work, or half the time I see a cute girl and she's flirting with me at work. And dating is an afterthought now. Now my focus is on building wealth for myself. Yeah, building a personal brand and a business that'll take me out of this 9-to-5 rat race. And it's so liberating knowing that I no longer have to worry about this area of my life.
Yeah, I think for me, the notion of confidence, I think my favorite definition is having optimism in the absence of certainty. Yeah. So I think what you said is true. I think the reason why we try and armor ourselves with all of this information is because we're terrified of hanging in that limbo of vulnerability. Like when people are worried, oh, how do I stop running out of things to say? It's not because they want. It's not because they're scared of running out of things to say. It's just because they're scared of looking stupid. They're scared of being in a vulnerable position in front of a woman. Maybe that harkens back to their childhood when they were in a vulnerable position and they didn't know how to defend themselves, and then they carried that fear of being seen into adult life. So that's why I say to people, there are no dating problems, they're just personal problems. It's the personal problems that I think we're really fixing through this. And yeah, I think that when you can go into those conversations, and I think being detached outcome is a difficult concept for people to grasp at the start. It's like, well, why would I do it if I didn't care about an outcome? But I think being able to let go is not about, it's not like you no longer care, it's like you stop obsessing. I think that's the difference. It's not like you don't stop caring, you just stop obsessing. and you understand that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. But you have to always remind yourself that the belief does follow the action. Yeah, it's not more information that people need. It's implementation. And I think when I look back at all the coaching that I do, really 80% of it is just focusing on the open and the close. Like, I don't give guys like all of this information like, okay, here's all of the conversational gambits that you're going to need to learn. When she says this, you must say this. You then transition to here and here and here. I think really what we focus on is just getting you to a place where you can open without obsessing. Yeah, it's like you can just go deliver your value in a non-needy way. If she likes you, great. If not, no problem. I just think that way of doing it makes it so much more mentally easy for people, because rather than going out there thinking, oh my god, my head is flooded with all of these techniques and, oh, what did that guy say, oh shit, like, if he says I've got a boyfriend, then what do I, like, you just need to focus on opening and closing. That's all call approach is all sales come down to. It's just open and close. I think for anybody watching this, even if you are completely new, you've not done 100 approaches yet, just focus on the open. Just focus on opening. Just focus on the first 3 seconds of your approach. Just focus on getting yourself in there, blowing the woman away with a hard-hitting compliment, and then let the chips fall where they may. For most people, they never even get to that stage. But I think if you can just focus on opening, then the rest of it does start to take care of itself with practice. But yeah, I think a lot of guys they check out before they even start, because there's just too much going on information wise. It's like, oh, like you say, I need to be this height, I need to be this race, I need to have this income. There's nothing stopping anybody just going out today purely with the mindset of giving. Yeah, like how can I make the world a better place today? Great, there's a woman. Let's give her a compliment. Awesome. You didn't need anything there. You didn't need looks, money, or status. You just need a fucking mouth. Just a desire to make a slight difference to somebody's day, and then rising tide lifts all the boats. So I think that's all it comes down to. It's just opening and closing, and recognize that not every approach is going to be great. But the thing that always kept me steady was I'm only ever one approach away from my entire life changing. And that's always held true. I see it with the guys that I work with, I've seen it with myself. You're only ever one away. You could have a month of just nothing. You're not nothing sticking. You don't feel as though you're making progress. And then the 103rd approach that you do, it's just absolute fireworks, and you just meet the woman of your dreams. But that approach didn't happen if it hadn't been for all of the previous approaches. So yeah, it's interesting, and yeah, I do have empathy for guys, because I think maybe for some guys the whole pickup strategy, maybe that can work for some people. Maybe that's what they resonate with more. And if that does, then I would just say my stuff is probably not for you, and that's okay. I'm not trying to say it's my way or the highway. It's just like, this is the way that I like to operate. This is the way that I teach to people. Go out, try it. If you prefer techniques and pick up jargon, and yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of other people you can find.
Yeah, it all comes down to the open. I remember that was the biggest differentiator that I learned when I was in Warsaw, is there was so much anxiety hanging around the entire approach, like total, where I was worried, okay, not just I have to go over and talk to the girl, but then I have to think of what to say after I initiate conversation with her. Oh, but then I have to have this amazingly strategic conversation with her where I'm elevating her attraction the entire time, and I have to make sure I stay away from saying anything negative about myself. I'll shoot my chances in the foot. Yeah. And then I got to worry about how am I going to ask for her number. I got to find the perfect time to weave that into the conversation. And yeah, now the more that I talk about it, it's almost as if I was still, it just comes down to being scared of outcome and too attached to outcome, because just that sentence there, right? Oh, I have to weave in the close. I have to weave in how I'm going to ask for her number. It still suggests that there was something that I was hiding. Yeah, that there was this piece of myself and of my desire that I was hiding, and I needed to almost make it seem as though the everything happened by accident. Oh yeah, just I walked over by accident. The conversation was accidentally good, and then I just happened to ask for her number, and then we happened to set up a date. But the longer I go on this journey, the more I realize the more direct that I can go, the better. The more of my intention that I can show, the better. Yeah. So when I walk over to the girl, I no longer give a meek compliment where, oh, yeah, you look pretty good. Oh, yeah, you look good. You looked great. Now it's like, yeah, you look fucking incredible. And I want everybody in the store to hear it. Yeah. I want every single person in earshot to hear what I just said to her, because that is what makes the conversation go well. That is what makes the compliment hard hitting, is the fact that I don't care who can hear it. Yeah, the fact that I don't care who can hear the conversation. Sometimes there are little periods of silence and I do my little nervous laugh, but I sit in the silence. Yeah, I sit there, I look at the girl, I hold the eye contact, and I just allow it to be. One of my favorite things that you said is nothing is good or bad. It just is. Yeah, and maybe that's an extension of the quote, yeah, thinking makes it so, but I love how you say it just is. Yeah, it's not good or bad until we assign value to it. So the conversation didn't go good or bad until we determined that it went good or bad. In reality, it was just a conversation, and it went how it was always going to go. It just is. Yeah, and I could have said something better, I could have said something worse, but I was in there and I did my best. Yeah, so I always, even with the guys that are starting to approach based on my content, a lot of times they find me through Kristian. I always tell them that I don't care about the result when it comes to you. I mean, to be fair, in general, I don't care about the result. I care about who I'm developing myself into. But when it comes to these guys putting in their reports about, oh, I went into this approach and that approach, and they'll say, oh, I was scared to talk about my rejections. I was scared to talk about when I got blown out. I'll reply and say, dude, I prefer hearing about your rejections. That tells me that you're actually walking over to these women. That tells me that you're actually going in for what you want. If every single time you tell me, oh, the conversation went great, I'm just gonna think you're lying. Yeah, because that has not been my experience. It hasn't been Kristian's experience, and none of the guys in the entourage. We never go 10 for 10. We never go 20 for 20 because we're so looks max, so money max, whatever. That just simply isn't the reality. And so, yeah, the biggest benefit, one of the biggest benefits, there's plenty that I got from Kristian, but one of them was the ability to be okay with each and every outcome. Yeah, when the girl loves me, amazing. And yes, I'm happy about that. When the girl hates me, amazing. Life goes on. There's going to be plenty more that I can walk over to that probably will like me. Yeah, and so I agree. It's just the more you open. Yeah, that's all it is. You told me that in war, so that was one of the first things you told me on day one. Just walk over. Yeah, just walk over and start conversation and just see where it goes. You never know where it might take you. And adopting that mentality is what got me all of those dates in Warsaw. And it is what's gotten me all of those dates since Warsaw. Yeah, that mentality. I see the girl, sometimes I think she's just too hot for me. I've never walked over to a girl that's smoking hot. I don't think she's gonna like me. She looks like she's 10 years older than me. She's probably gonna think I'm a kid. And just walking over has gotten me dates with a lot of these women that I'm talking about. I saw and I got scared. I saw and I went, she's too hot. I saw and I went, she's too old for me. Yeah, she's a smoking hot MILF. She's 38. She looks like she's deep into a software sales career or a lawyer litigation career or something. Yeah, most recently I'm meeting nurses and stuff. Once again, I'm thinking, nurse, making 3-4 times my income. No way the girl's gonna like me. And she's liking me just as much as the 20-year-old girl who's in college likes me. And it's blowing my mind. The more you open, you just need to walk over. You don't get to determine what they're attracted to. You don't get to determine what kind of mood they're in, but you do get to determine the action that you take. And it's just so powerful. Yeah, it's just such a powerful concept that you can control your destiny. Yeah, you can control your dating life. That, we talk about control. That's what I was after. Yeah, guys want control, and so they look smacks. They want control, and so they get this amazing 10 out of 10 muscular body, thinking that that's going to get them the result. But once again, they're solving for the wrong equation. Yeah, they think that looks max plus MGTOW plus all these lines and routines is going to equal the dating life that they want. And I'm not here to say that it's not. Yeah, but that simply has not been my equation. Yeah, so I can't vouch for it. I can't vouch against it, but I certainly can't vouch for it. Yeah, because the equation that has worked for me has been meeting and paying somebody that is way above my skill set level when it comes to walking over to the girl, learning exactly his method, exactly how he goes about it, which didn't mean learning a bunch of lines and stuff. It was all inner game. It was all learning the mindsets and then aggressively implementing those in my home country, in my home city. And the results simply speak for themselves. That's why I'm so in Kristian's corner. That's why I'll make a testimonial video for him out of nowhere. It's because I believe in what he has to share so much. I've seen what it can do for my life firsthand. Yeah. So and not just my life, I'm seeing what it's doing for other guys in the Entourage life, guys in my community that simply watch my video. These are just videos on the internet they watch, and they're telling me it's changing their lives. It's crazy. The cascading effect is crazy. And the best part is we are still very much in the beginning phase. The Entourage is, I think, less than 2 years old at this point. So, yeah, we've got a long way to go.
Yeah, it'd be crazy how it develops in the next 10 years. So, I think all the people who are in there at the moment, we've got 24 active members, and it's deliberately that size on purpose. I turn away more people than I say yes to. It's not some BS marketing strategy. It's just truth, because just from a logical perspective, just so people understand, we're going to have at least 4 in-person meetups this year, right? I ain't taking on anybody who I wouldn't want to be friends with outside of this whole thing, right? It just doesn't make any sense. It's just an expensive headache. Bad clients can never become good clients. So you need more than just being able to pay the entry fee. Yeah, you actually need to be somebody who I want to help, and I think that I can get results for. And I think when you were saying before about it's who you're becoming through the process. So I think it can be difficult when people say, "Oh, be detached from outcome," but if I ever needed an outcome to focus on at the start, it was reps equal reward. Yeah, I'm going out there today. The numbers that I get, the dates that I stack, the happy endings I may well concoct, they are all secondary and a byproduct of who I'm becoming along the way. I think when you can view it that way as the most aggressive form of self development, that's when I think the whole approach anxiety does start to get alleviated more, because it's no longer about the girl or girls, it's who I'm becoming by doing this difficult thing. And then that action taker aura that you develop, it just spills over into everything that you do. One of my favorite definitions of power is minimizing the time between thought and action. I think when a lot of us have a thought to do something, it can take a long time to materialize that into action. You see somebody you want to talk to, you spend the next 20 minutes thinking about it, then the opportunity's gone. So if you can just reduce the time it takes you to transmute thought into action, then that ability to act on immediacy, to act on impulse, to just say fuck it, you can start to sharpen that muscle throughout everything that you're doing. You want to get out of bed early in the morning, boom, it's done. You think about it, it's done. You want to get into the cold shower, boom, it's done. You want to go to the martial arts gym, boom, it's done. You send off that first email, you show up to the class. I think that was always one of my favorite things that I got from it, because I used to be, and I can have my moments where I can overthink a lot of things, and that comes out when it comes to cold approach, right? If you're an overthinker, then it's going to get amplified when you're approaching. But by mitigating the time it takes you to think of something and then do it, that's had such a meteoric impact in my life, because now I'm just not wasting my life anymore thinking about doing things. Oh, should I make that YouTube channel? Should I create that piece of content? Should I move to a new country? Should I leave my 9 to 5? Now it's like I have the thought and it's done. And that's been one of the biggest game changers for me, just being able to minimize the time between thought and action. Because I do think that, and we're probably all guilty of doing it, but we're still in January, and I think people, they have these grandiose resolutions of why this year is going to be different. Oh, I'm going to go here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to learn this thing. One of the things that I'm doing at the moment is I'm imagining that this year is already done. Yeah, I'm imagining that it's like December 2025. And I would imagine the regret that I would feel if I hadn't done the things that I said that I was going to do. And that just keeps me accountable and motivated every day. Like, I don't want to get to the end of this year and think, yeah, I could have definitely done more. I left things on the table. So, yeah, I think people don't realize how impactful this skill is. And that's why I say to people, like, it just goes deeper than day game. People think that they're working with me and joining the Entourage to get cold approach mastered. Like you said at the start, you'll get that done in less than a week. The real work that we're doing is you don't like yourself. You don't think you're worthy. You think you're an unlovable piece of shit, and you're learning all these things because you want to try and armor yourself. And something that I've always practiced is just this notion of state transparency. Yeah, because if you can go into an approach and you're just transparent, right? You've run out of things to say, own it. You're feeling a little bit nervous, say it. You want to give this particular compliment, give it, right? Because then it's like if you can start off from that place of authenticity, you're not putting on an act anymore. And I think for most relationships, people fall in love with strangers. People fall in love with the idea of a person rather than the actual person because we're presenting a version of ourselves that we think is attractive in our minds. I need to stand this way. I need to posture like this. I need to make my voice strategically deeper. But eventually the mask slips. So it's much easier if you can just polarize through authenticity at the start. And like that way you attract your people and you repel the rest, right? If she's not into you during those first couple of seconds, she's probably just not your girl. And that's fine. You just saved yourself a lot of hassle. So yeah, I like polarization through authenticity. It's the same when you're building brands and creating a business and finding your people. People connect with people. So I think the more we can just free ourselves from that bullshit, yeah, the better lives that we're going to have. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and as you're speaking, I'm realizing that was probably the biggest thing that I got from you in Poland was the ability to go in as is, not just walk over, but walk over flaws and everything and own them all and be okay with them all. And yeah, the more I think about it, the more I realize that is that is what gets me success in this space. Even on my channel, if you go over some of my infields, you'll notice in every one of those videos, I started off and intermittently in the videos, I say multiple times, I am scared right now. I'm scared. I'm nervous. My hands are shaking. My heart is beating. Just to remind people that you don't reach a yeah, maybe the quote approach anxiety subsides a bit, but you never reach a point where you transcend humanity and human emotions and you no longer feel these feelings, and that's when you go in. Yeah, I find a lot of guys, they're waiting for that moment. They think that there will come a moment where they have eliminated all of these uncomfortable feelings, and that is when they can go in. And the whole message is, I am one of the few men in the world that feel those feelings and go in anyways. Yeah, despite feeling them, I walk over anyways. And so that's why I love being transparent on those videos. Yeah, I love humanizing myself, normalizing myself, sharing that I truly am nobody special. I am just one of the few that will walk over as is while feeling these emotions, while thinking I'm not looks maxed enough, while thinking I'm not muscular enough. I'll still go over. And I find that that is what, I can't I can't ever actually analyze these women's brains and get into their head and know what they're thinking. But from what I've gathered on all of these dates and from what they've told me and we've discussed on the dates and then also the results when approaching them, what I've gathered is that is probably the main reason why they like me and why they respond to me is because I go over as is. It's not because I'm 5'9". It's not because I have a full beard. It's not because I have curly hair. Yeah, some girls might be into that. Some girls might not be. Some girls might be neutral. Some girls might not care at all. The point is, what differentiates me from the majority of men that walk this earth is I go over anyways. However I feel, however I look. Sometimes my hair is not done. Sometimes I'm in sweatpants. Sometimes I haven't brushed my teeth that day. Sometimes I'm looking tip top in the best shape that I've ever looked. But regardless, I go over. Sometimes I'm nervous and I'm not in the mood to approach. And sometimes I give myself grace and I bail on plenty as well. But the point is, more often than not, I see the girl I want and I walk over to her and I tell her that I want her. And that's as far as my brain can even take me. Yeah, I see the girl I want, I walk over, I tell her that I want her, and the rest is just improv. The rest is just, let's see where this goes. There's no point in even trying to structure out the conversation because she might walk away in the first 3 seconds anyways. Yeah. So while we're sitting here marinating, mentally masturbating, thinking, all right, there's the girl. Now I need a game plan. All right, after I say, excuse me, I'm going to say this. She's going to maybe say this. Then no, she'll probably say this. Instead of doing all that, just walk over and see what happens. Yeah, maybe she'll love you right off the bat and you won't even need to think. Maybe she'll start asking you questions, right? I've had it where I walk over and the girl asks me immediately, what's your name? Oh, yeah, are you from around here? Who knows what's going to happen? You don't get to decide that. Yeah, all you get to decide is whether or not you walk over. And most men are going to use some excuse to not walk over. And that's what I see 99 out of 100 times, probably more than that, is a guy will ask a question that and he'll add a lot of fluff and a lot of context around the question to make it seem like a really, really good, really important question, and more importantly, to make it seem like a blocker as to why he can't go over to the girl yet. Oh, I can't go over to the girl yet because I haven't gotten to the answer to this very niche and specific question. So once you answer this question, that will unlock my ability to walk over to the girl. But time after time, you start to recognize that as soon as you answer that question, and oftentimes I give them an answer that they don't like anyways, I just say, all right, bad question, just walk over. They'll introduce a new question, right? Another specific niche question about, okay, but when I walk over, what happens if she doesn't stop immediately? Then what exactly should I say? Oh, but what happens if we get 2 minutes into the conversation and I run out of things to say? Oh, but what if? Yeah. And I see myself in all of these guys because I was asking Kristian the same stuff. Yeah. Thankfully, I was walking over anyways. But as we were walking through the streets of Warsaw, in between approaches, I remember I would ask him all these questions. Yeah, so like, how do you not run out of things to say? What if I run out of things to say? And he'd go, yeah, sometimes that happens. Just tell her you ran out of stuff to say. And I go, oh, genius, right? That's a great answer. But point is, all of these questions now, I can easily recognize them as the guy is really telling me, hey, Ephraim, I'm too scared to walk over. I need to add this imaginary question to elongate the process for me to finally walk over for the first time. And I don't fault you for that. I was the same way, and I get it. I get why it's scary. This is, when you first are starting out, this is by far one of the scariest things you will ever do socially. And now Kristian and I can talk about this so very casually because how many reps have we put in, right? So sometimes I have to forget or I have to remind myself. Yeah, sometimes I forget just how difficult this was when I started out. Nowadays most recently I was doing my little Instacart shopping and hadn't approached a girl in 2 weeks. And then I made eyes with a girl that I really, really liked, by far the cutest girl in that supermarket. And I was able to just walk over, present myself, and have a very casual, laid back conversation with the girl. And I walked out of there still feeling like a champ. Yeah, I do still get that buzz, that high off of finding a girl that does like me and more importantly, getting over my fear. But I looked at that and I go, wow, that was really easy. I totally forgot just how much that would have drained me 2 years ago. I mean, 2.5 years ago, I wouldn't have done it anyways. I would have been thinking about that girl while I was doing my shopping through the supermarket. And then I would have walked out and I would have thought, what if? What if I had the confidence to go over? What if I had the balls to go over? But nowadays, 2 years removed, after putting in all of these thousands of reps, the great part is you do get to a point where it really just becomes automatic. It becomes more like you to walk over than to bail and not walk over. And so this skill set is something else. Yeah, it just turns you into a beast, a social weapon. And yeah, it's changed my life in so many different ways. It's absurd.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think people can spend 10 years to get to a point that can take a matter of seconds. It's like, oh, approach anxiety. I've been struggling with this for decades. And like usually all they need is just the right support, the right guidance, and the right tools. I remember one of our guys, Graham, that I was with in Krakow last year, 50 guy, spent 3 decades terrified of talking to women, never even had a girlfriend. And then within a week of working with me, he got a 25-year-old girlfriend. The two of them are still together. But like I remember him saying 3 decades of dating problems essentially got eradicated in like one day. As soon as he did that first approach with me in Krakow, despite all of his limiting beliefs, he was like, I can't believe I've waited this long to do something which is actually so easy, right? Like when you actually break it down from an objective perspective, it literally is just walking over and letting words come out your mouth. That is actually all it is. But like because of all of the social conditioning, the fears, and the defense mechanisms which have been created, some guys can spend 3 decades thinking about doing it but not doing it, and then as soon as they do it, it's like the cold shower. Yeah? It's like you can psych yourself up, but as soon as you just like get yourself into that water, it's like, oh yeah, it wasn't actually that bad. And yeah, I think another thing that you mentioned there, I think a big concept of this anti-game principle is rejecting all of the programming that goes along with learning this skill. Like whenever I hear guys and they're like, "Oh, I'm really struggling with approach anxiety," it's like that terminology is castrating you of your confidence, right? I think you mentioned it there, where I think guys think that once they've done a lot of these approaches and reps, that feeling disappears forever. Yeah, and I think that's important for people to recognize. It doesn't go away. Like you're not trying to make it go away. It's just about embracing that feeling. Yeah, it does get diminished the more you do it, but I think guys they can almost lose confidence in the fact that, oh, I still feel nervous. I was a magician for a decade. Whether I was approaching a granny who couldn't even see anything, I was always nervous, but those nerves, it was the way that I viewed that feeling, because it's just a feeling, right? And we attach the interpretation to it. I saw that like me feeling nervous, the butterflies in my belly. I saw that as me elevating into a new character. Like I saw it as signs of growth. So you never want to lose that feeling. I think if you lose a feeling, then part of the thrill of the game disappears. So it's not about eradicating it, it's about embracing it. And I'm sure when you're going out there and you're making your videos or you're not making videos and you see somebody, I think you'll always get that notion of apprehension. Because it's like you step into the unknown, right? You don't know what's going to happen. And that can feel scary for our minds because we want certainty. But like we said before, it's just about stepping into it and having optimism in the absence of certainty. And the more times that you do it, the more you can realize, oh, it's going to go well, or I've got a funny story. And that makes me feel better. But yeah, I think that there is just a lot of programming that keeps guys stuck. Oh, I've got approach anxiety. Oh, I'm gonna run out of things to say. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm like, yeah, good. That's great. Awesome. You're nervous. You're scared. You're not feeling too good about yourself. Even if you feel completely insecure, like I think if you can just go out with the mindset of let's just go put a few smiles on faces, then you're already doing better than most people. But yeah, I mean, I think it's it's just an interesting landscape because I know everybody's coming from completely different social backgrounds and different like fears or whatever. But yeah, the way that I've always boiled it down, it's just walking over somebody and letting words come out your mouth. Yeah, just let your legs carry you over there, say something, and then yeah, I think that's all it comes down to, isn't it?
You know, to this day, every time I walk over to the girl, I still feel, like you just said, some level of apprehension. I'd say the only case when the that feeling really goes away at all is when I've done 5, 6, 7 approaches prior in the day, and I'm already in this place where I've met a few girls that like me, and I really could just care less. But it all starts over the next day. I wake up the next day, and once again, if I see a girl that I like that day, the apprehension is still there. Yeah. And so, maybe a better way to put it is it's not that the nerves go away. It's that you become more capable in walking over to the girl and having confidence that you know what you're doing. That like when I was first going over to Warsaw, did my first approach with Kristian. A lot of that quote anxiety that I was feeling was that unknown, but it wasn't unknown because I didn't know how to approach and I didn't know how the conversation would go. It was also unknown because I was aware that when I was in the conversation, that would be the first time I was in that conversation. And I wouldn't really know what to say because I'd never said anything. And I wouldn't really know how to ask for her number because I'd never asked for a girl's number in this manner. Yeah. And so now, having done that 1,000 times, part of the reason why we may phrase it as the nerves have gone away a bit. A lot of it is just that I'm capable now. A lot of it is that I just know that if I walk over and the girl gives me any signs that she likes me, I pretty much know what I'm doing from that point on. Yeah, it's very easy because I've been in that position 100 million times. So there's going to be a different flavor and a different spin to each and every conversation. But I more or less know exactly what I'm doing. I know that I'm going to get to know the girl briefly. I also know that I'm not going to stand there for 30 minutes and talk to her like we're on a date. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, depending on where we're at. I know that if she's giving me signs that she likes me, I'm going to start tapering towards setting a date up with her. And I know that if she's giving me signs she doesn't like me, I'm going to eject pretty quickly. Yeah. And then, of course, I now know, I'm very capable at taking the girl's phone number down and actually setting up a date to see each other again. And part of the reason why I was feeling a lot of that apprehension when I first began is because I didn't know how to do that, right? I was in the conversation, but I wasn't even present and listening to the girl. I was thinking, all right, like it's been 3 minutes. She seems to like me. When should I ask for her number? I don't know. Is this a good time to ask for her number? Whereas these days, because I'm capable, I can just sit in the conversation and actually be present. Yeah. And watch the girl feel the same nerves that I used to feel. Watch her feel those nerves while I'm just cool, calm, and collected in conversation, smiling, just asking more questions, being witty. And then eventually I'll pull out my phone and just hand it to her and go, okay, so yeah, it sounds like we're meeting up Thursday. So there's this venue I like. It's actually on Mission Street. I say it's 7 p.m. I get off around 6, and I've just done this a million times. Yeah, so it's like half of the feeling of half of the non nerves that I'm feeling is just being capable. Yeah, but we have to be clear. The initial feeling of butterflies, of heart palpitations, of okay, that's the girl, I'm scared. That never, ever, ever, ever goes away. I don't care how many, and maybe it will one day in 20 years. I have no idea. But up until this point, having done multi thousands of approaches, that feeling never ever goes away. I see the girl, and there is some inhibitor in my brain that goes, there's a lot of people around. Okay, this is a person I've never met before. Okay, we don't know how this is gonna go. Oh, is this girl even gonna like me? Oh, she looks a little older than me. Oh, she looks a little too mature. She looks a little too rich for me. Oh, she looks a little too bitchy right now. She didn't smile at me. But I walk over anyways. Yeah, that is the key, regardless of how I'm feeling. So I guess the real skill here is the ability to switch that part of your brain off. And so now guys, they might see my infield and think that I don't feel nerves, but that's your outward interpretation of my internal feeling. You can never be me and live through my eyes and live through my brain. So you don't know how I'm feeling in that moment. And I'm here to, that's why I try to explain to you how I'm feeling. And I'm here to explain to you that I'm feeling just like you are feeling, just like you're feeling. As soon as you see the girl and you feel that fear, you take 5, 10 seconds to think about it and wait and stew on that feeling and hope that it goes away and hope that it gets better so that you can walk over. Meanwhile, I feel that same exact feeling that you feel, but instead of standing around and thinking and waiting and then walking over, then stopping and then turning around and going, oh no, I'm not going to do this, and then following the girl halfway down the block and then thinking, oh, there's too many people around. Instead of doing that shit, I just walk over immediately. She's at the crosswalk about to cross the street. I just put myself in front of her in the crosswalk. Yeah, she's around 7 strangers, and I'm scared they're all going to be in earshot and hear it. All right, I guess I'm going to be approaching a girl in front of 7 strangers today, and I just walk over. Yeah, regardless of how I feel, we feel the same emotions. I am just the one person that's going to walk over, regardless of how I feel. That's the separator, right? And the best part is, you don't get to see that, right? You don't get to see and feel that through my eyes and through my brain. So your outward interpretation, referring to guys that might watch my infield, may be that, oh, this guy is smooth. This guy can't get nervous. This guy is just a wizard at this stuff. He doesn't feel this approach anxiety that I feel. Therefore, until I get to that level of confidence, I can't walk over to the girl. And it's opposite thinking. The only way that I got to that level of confidence is by walking over to the girl, is by doing it while I was scared. Yeah, is by hesitating and thinking, oh my God, and then following behind her for like 30 seconds and thinking, am I gonna do it? And then just bailing because I got too scared. Doing that 100 million times, that is what got me to the point where now the girl can be about to cross the sidewalk, busiest area of San Francisco, 17 strangers around, New Year's Eve. Yeah, with her twin sister about to cross. I'm referring to one approach in particular I got on camera. And I can still walk over immediately, right? Immediately, knowing that everyone's going to hear me, knowing it probably isn't going to go well. There's so many people. She's with her sister. It's New Year's Eve. They probably got shopping to do. Who cares? I'm just going to go over and see what happens, anyways. And so the outward interpretation is this guy is smooth, this guy is confident, this guy is so courageous, this guy doesn't feel any sort of anxiety or any sort of nerves. But the best part about the internet is that you get to see inside our brains, or at least hear about it, right, through what we tell you. And so I'm not a guru. I am not, Christian is not, we're not guys that are on a pedestal saying that we have overcome this sort of nerve and this sort of human emotion that a lot of guys seem to think we have somehow eradicated. That's not the case. We have just learned how to deal with it, channel it. Yeah, channel it, use it, walk over anyways. That's all this comes down to. Yeah, it looks smooth from your eyes, but you are not living through my eyes. I'm feeling the same things that you're feeling. I just walk over anyways. That's it. Yeah, simple as that.
Yeah, I think it's just being able to change your relationship with whatever that feeling is. Yeah, a lot of guys view that as a reason not to act, but the way that it's been rewired in our minds is this is the exact reason why we want to act, and we see it more as a call to action rather than a let's not do the things it feels scary. I think what's interesting as well from like a cultural perspective is I just don't think enough men are doing things that make them feel nervous on a consistent basis. And then that's why that feeling feels so alien. You look at the average person, they're working the job, they commute to work, they come home, they watch some things on TV, maybe they partake in some toxic habits which get them further and further into this comfort quicksand. I think that's why people struggle with that so much because they're just not used to that feeling. And because they're not used to it and because it feels foreign, they interpret it as bad, but it's just different. It's just new. And I think if we can prioritize doing things on a daily basis that make us feel uncomfortable, not just cold approach, but it might be making eye contact with strangers. It might be going to a gym where everybody's got a better body than you. It might be creating a piece of content on social media. It might be having a difficult conversation with a family member. I think the more we can make ourselves comfortable in the chaos, I do think that spills over. Obviously, there's never going to be a replacement for, yeah, just going over and doing it. But I do think because our culture, this cotton wool culture where everything is comfortable, we're addicted to immediacy. We don't really have to focus on longevity and like actually just sucking at something for a long time. It's like, oh, this is scary. This feels uncomfortable. Oh, head in the sand, scroll, scroll, scroll. But I think we just make ourselves feel uncomfortable enough. It's why I love things like martial arts or travel or putting videos out there on the internet. It's just like every time you do that, you're running from comfort, like your life depends on it. And I think that's what gives you that core confidence to know when you're in the moment, you have that feeling of nervousness there. Oh, I'm used to this now. And then you can dance with it rather than trying to remove it entirely. You know?
And a lot of what we see as chaos these days, we have to remember. I saw that there's this stand-up routine that I watched a few weeks back, and the guy was saying something along the lines of, we all live like princes and kings these days compared to just 200 years ago. And yeah, I thought, I really briefly thought about that. I'm like, he's so correct. Yeah, because there, at one point in our lives, or not our lives, but in our history, we were fighting for our lives day in and day out in the animal kingdom. Yeah, we don't even have to go too far back to see when we had to grow our own food or fight for our own food and cultivate our own food. And today we have DoorDash. Yeah, and we have these means of making money that we can trade for things that are valuable and life necessities. But at one point or another, we had to come up with these life necessities on our own. Now we just, like you said, we just go to a 9-to-5 job and clock in, and that month's wage takes care of our shelter for us. We don't have to build it. Yeah, it takes care of our food for us. We don't have to grow it. And so, like, a lot of what we see these days as chaos is actually really, in my opinion, really just like normal life. Yeah, it's like, I think it's more normal to feel these feelings of discomfort than it is to not feel them. It's almost like the boiling frog mentality. Yeah, it's like we don't realize how close to death we seem to be getting until we're fat and obese and they have diabetes and that person hasn't worked out for 10 years and that person's been working the same dead end job they don't care about and they're just checking in, checking out. And then we wonder why people hit these midlife crises, yeah, where they look back on a life that they didn't even create. They were just going through the motions and it created itself and they're dissatisfied with it. Well, I wonder why. Yeah, I wonder why you're dissatisfied with the life that you didn't even choose, right? It all makes sense versus the kind of guys in the entourage that choose to walk towards discomfort on a daily basis, not just walking over to the girl, although that is one of the biggest ones, but walking to the gym, for example. I mean, we look at the statistics in America and it's like, I think 20% maybe if people are in the gym consistently, maybe. Yeah. And it's like that. We used to have to work out just by virtue of going to chase the food. Yeah. Just by virtue of picking the crops and building the home. That was working out. And now we don't have to do any of that shit. We just need to go to get our little wage from our job and that pays for all of it. And so it's so easy to slip. And then of course, something that is not any of our faults is technology. Yeah. Is TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Netflix, all of this stuff. I never go too far into this because one, I use YouTube plenty. But two, it's not our fault that we're addicted to this stuff. Yeah, there are literal data scientists, psychologists, and their sole job, yeah, they're being paid an absurd salary, and their sole job is to track our scroll habits, track our click rates, see what we hang on for longer, what types of content stick, and then pump more of that into our brains to then get us to stay longer so that we see more advertisements, so that they can get paid more. And of course, nothing is good or bad. It just is. We can assign value to it. So to be fair, they're doing what they can to feed their families and make their money and et cetera. So whatever. But, the core of it, it seems a bit sinister because we've got a whole, for us, for my generation, at least, it was video games. So before the TikTok and the Instagram, it was video games. They would get us hooked on virtual reality. Yeah. On things that didn't actually exist. And all I was actually doing was moving my thumbs and my fingers a little bit, but it felt like I was experiencing all of these fun emotions in life. And I'm mad, I'm winning, I'm happy. But in reality, nothing was really changing. The sun was going up and down and up and down and up and down. I'd spend my entire winter, spring break in my home playing these video games when I could have been out with friends, having experiences, learning about the world, yeah, getting more acclimated to the world, experiencing some of the discomfort that we're talking about. Yeah, some of the ups and downs of life I would have been feeling when I was just hunkered in my apartment playing my video games. Yeah. And so, like that mixed with not having to grow our own food and gather our own food, mixed with not having to create our own shelter, creates this very easy life. The standard life, at least in the States, is very, very easy. Yeah. It's like even the people on the streets, I really feel for them, but half the time they're getting handed money to afford living anyways, also, right? They're panhandling for money and it's been being given to them. All right, well, 1,000 years ago, that wouldn't have worked, right? Nobody would have been able to hand them money and shit. They would have perished, right? So it's like the average life for an American, I'll just speak for first world societies at least, is we're living like literal kings, yeah, from 300 BC. Our life is so easy. Our food is right there. Our home is right here. Yeah, our job is 10 minutes away, or maybe it's a 30-minute commute. Life is just too easy. And so, in my opinion, yeah, we have to fabricate some difficulty. We have to. That's why I take the cold shower, like Kristian mentions, right? That's why I go to the gym consistently. And that's why I do something as socially difficult as walking over to the girl. Yeah, it's, at first it's about getting the girl, and then you get the girl enough times and you go, I still want a cold approach. I still want to walk over. Yeah, it becomes less about getting the girl and more about walking towards discomfort. And because of who you become through walking over to discomfort. And that's what I'm seeing. My sales career is exploding. Now I'm outperforming all my coworkers. They've been there 20 years, 10 years, right? That girl was working this job when I was in diapers. And now month one, I'm outperforming her. It's no coincidence. Right? It's not because I have a full beard. It's because of what I've developed myself into. And that's it. Yeah. And part of that is the cold approach. A big part of that is the cold approach. Yeah. Is being able to just attack life head on, not care, walk over to the discomfort. Yeah. I have people, they're bringing up conflicts in the workplace. I'm able to resolve them very easily. That's the cold approach. Yeah. So I agree. Yeah. We live in a very easy society and we have to, at this point, we have to fabricate difficulty if we want to live a sustainable and a satisfactory life, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think having that having that strategic stress is so useful. I remember reading a book. It's called Anti-Fragile, And in that book, the author explains how there are certain organisms which, when exposed to certain levels of stress, they become stronger. So you imagine that I don't know, like getting a cold, for example. If you're exposed to like a small dosage of the illness, and over time your body will adapt and become stronger. So that's anti-fragility. And yeah, I think having that strategic stress in our lives is so crucial, because I just think that we feel more purposeful and driven and connected to ourselves when we feel as though we are pushing our boundaries and we're doing things, and we get to the end of our day, we feel exhausted with accomplishment. It just feels great. Like my worst days, when I feel my most depressed, are days when I know I've just not done enough. Like maybe I didn't sleep well the night before, so I don't push as hard as I could have done. And then it's like you get to the end of the day, and I'm like, yeah, I feel slightly shameful. I feel slightly guilty because I know that I'm capable of more. So yeah, even though in the moment it feels difficult, just the payoff that you get is just great. So yeah, I think just to wrap up, if there are people who are watching this and maybe they've been inspired to live more of this freedom from bullshit, anti-game lifestyle, maybe they've heard our discussion, they're thinking, do you know what? Yeah, I'm fed up at the moment. I'm fed up of subscribing to all of these different convoluted ideologies. I just want to go out there. I want to live a great life. I want to find a woman who likes me, etc., etc. But I don't want to feel as though I need to get a doctorate in game and pickup. So, like, what do you think somebody could do? Let's say they're trying to learn all of this on their own. Let's say they're completely new. They're in the position that you were in not that long ago. And let's just say they don't have the funds at the moment. Let's just say they're a young guy, 20 years old. They don't have the funds to join us, to work with us, but they would like to at least do something. Um, what would your advice be to somebody in that position right now?
Dang it! I wish you didn't add the last part because my my reflex answer was pay somebody to learn this. Why are you wasting your time? But okay, fair enough. If you don't have the funds to do that, I mean, all right. My honest opinion is gather the funds to do that. Yeah, my very first answer would be figure out a way to get money so that you can pay Christian to learn the skill because that's going to save you, right? We talk about Graham spending 30 years in a position where he was dissatisfied, and then one immersion with Christian, one day in one immersion, and he was able to flip his life around. Why are you going to if you know there's a shortcut? Why are you going to take the longer route? So that's my first answer. But if you're very far from the funds to be able to afford this, but you want to get started right now, then I just recommend you watch Christian Infields, see exactly how he does what he does. Literally, just copy him word for word at first if you have to. As far as, excuse me, hi, do you speak English? Like just copy that part, and then go apply it. There's no teacher like experience, like application. So I don't think consuming content is really going to do much for you. Yeah, like you watch the live streams consistently, and it gives you that hit of confidence. I think that's great, but don't think that that's going to change your life. Yeah, that might help correct your mindset, but that's never going to get you the girl. Yeah, watching a bunch of content is never going to have the girl magically appear at your doorstep. Yeah, so there's nothing that beats walking over. Yeah, so that would be my advice is you don't want to pay somebody to learn the skill set. Well, then you need to learn it on your own, and you're not going to learn it by watching and hearing and listening. You're going to learn it by doing. So you need to figure out the pattern that works for you, let's say, which at first you're not going to know what that is. So just literally copy what Christian says and then go apply it and then go walk over to the girl today, not tomorrow, not 6 months more looks maxing, 6 months more gym maxing. Do it today. Yeah, the sun is out, or at least where I am, the sun's coming out now. Just walk over. Yeah, walk over. You see the girl. I know you're gonna see a girl today that you're going to feel attracted to. I know it. Yeah, and so you need to walk over and try to make something happen. And it's probably not going to go well. Expect that it's not going to go well. Be okay with that. Yeah, and then do that a bunch. Yeah, once you do that once, do it a lot more, and that is how you build the skill. That is my advice. Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, it's I can only give you advice based on my experience, and for me, I didn't spend 2 years trying this out on my own. I didn't want to waste two. If I had tried to learn this on my own, I would still be trying to learn it today. And instead, I got all of these date breakdowns to show for it, all because I paid somebody to learn it in 1 month instead. And it was really more like 1 week. So that's my
Yeah,
that's my advice.
Yeah, no, I think that's solid. I think as well, it's important for people to understand it. What we do, the community that we've got, the entourage, that it's not just for beginners either. Like we've got guys of all different experiences. Like Joseph spent 10 decades. It's not 10 decades. Fucking hell, he must be like Methuselah. he spent yeah, he spent 10 years in nightlife, just doing the nightclub circuit. And he's by no way a beginner in the land of the feminine. We've got guys who've been married, guys who've come out of divorces, guys who've got skin in the game, guys who are more socially equipped than I am. Like one of our guys is a professional actor. Another one of our guys is a professional public speaker. Right. So these guys, they've got points on the board. They're not just like crawling into the coaching sessions, being like, I don't know how to talk to people. We've got guys who are very, very, very socially equipped. But what they were lacking were the right connections, the accountability, the support, that non-negotiable kick up the arse. Because I think that's what we all need. It doesn't matter who you are. I think everybody needs to be coached to some capacity. Yeah, because we all have those down days where we can't be asked. And if we've got nobody who we need to report to be like, okay, I did the thing, I hit the PR, I did the approach, then we slack off, right? So yeah, it's not just for beginners. It's guys who want to level up across the board, connect with other like-minded individuals. You don't just get the in-person coaching. You get invitations to our worldwide meetups. You get the accountability group. You get weekly group coaching calls, weekly one-to-one calls. I'm like, when I'm on calls with people, I'm like, here's everything that you get. Every time I talk about it, I'm like, this is crazy. Like the value here is actually immense. And I think that's why our guys get the results that they do, because it's just this unparalleled level of care where you're not just another number, you're not just another cog in the system. And I do think having these in-person meetups throughout this year, I think that's just going to glue everyone together. Not like some weird human centipede way, but like it's going to glue people together. And yeah, I'm just excited for this year, definitely. So yeah, where can people find you if they've because you've been on fire on this one, I must say. Your your language has got way better as well. There was one where it's like relinquish. I'm like, fuck yes, getting relinquished out. Myriad. I'm like, fuck yes. The lexicon is getting supercharged.
That's
So
what happens when you spend enough time around Mr. English Literature major here. Yeah. Yeah, you can find me. I have a YouTube channel. I just document my dating life pretty much, what I'm learning along the way. I'm very much a student right now. I'm not a teacher. Guys might label me a teacher, but I'm not. I may be further along in the journey than you, but I'm learning every day. So you can find me at Pull University. That is my YouTube channel. And for videos, I post proof of me walking over to the girl and then proof of the result that I can get after walking over to the girl. That's pretty much the only videos I post. And then the live streams are when we get down and dirty, different topics where we go very deep, and I get very polarizing on my opinions. And so that's the meat of the content there. And then the main place you can find me where I'm the most active is going to be the Entourage. That's something that you'll have to earn your way into and pay your way into. So you'll have to reach out to Kristian for more details on that. I'm not sure if he's accepting or approving applications right now. You'll have to reach out, but I would suggest that you at the very least submit your application, because my life is never going to be the same after meeting and working with Kristian. And there's a reason why I'm sticking around. Yeah, there's a reason why I didn't just get the skill set and then run away. I want to be an active member in his group, in his life, in his movement, and I want to be alongside the movement, because I think that this skill set is going to change the world. Yeah, one guy at a time, one life at a time. I think it's going to change the world. It's hard for me to see anything more valuable than the ability to get guys to believe in themselves. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
yeah, awesome. That's great. I'll put the links for everything below. I'll put the link to your channel in the title as well, so people can go not marketing this thing hard enough. I love getting to know how to find the website, then I'm doing something wrong, right? So I'm like, whoa,
Yeah, it's either well, it's either you are doing a poor job at marketing, or he is blind and deaf. And
That's fair.
so
That's fair.
that might be you
I don't
might
know
have
who's
to
writing the comments on his behalf.
yeah, so his
I'll have to
secretary.
respond to him in Braille.
Yeah, that's the only way. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
You have to braille the entourage out. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are links. Links are below. They exist. They're in blue
They're
writing.
literally
I don't know
every
how.
video. The man says it in the beginning and the end of every single live stream. I don't know how you could possibly miss that. That's hilarious.
For watching live. If you enjoyed the stream, drop it a like. If you don't like us, then don't watch the stuff. Forward to having the going through the skies of Antarctica. Hopefully, we can get some more recruits over that side of the world. But anyway, yeah, I'll and we'll do another one of these again soon, because I know the guys really enjoy listening from you. All right.
Yeah. All right. Stay sexy, boys.
There we go.